Do you wear those jeans to church?
No.
Well, they're holy.
I mean, actually. Actually, I did once.
That's your pleasure.
And that's the whole video.
Exactly.
Well, first of all, it is an honor to be sitting right here.
No, it's okay. You all set?
Okay,
You
well,
comfortable? Yeah.
how did you meet Elvis Presley?
Well, I met him. I have to tell you where I came from first.
Okay.
Okay. I grew up listening to black music by San Francisco, California. And when I was about 15, I was playing jazz string bass. And that's how I started. And then years later, I started playing electric bass. And I went to Los Angeles, and I became a studio musician. And I played everything from movie soundtracks, record sessions for different artists, and a few country music records. And I had to play all of these kind of things, and I had to know how to read music to do that, So, especially the movie soundtracks, So anyhow, one day I was sitting at home with my ex-partner, and I got a phone call, and it was James Burton, who became Elvis's guitar player. And he said, we're putting a band together tomorrow, and to go into Las Vegas in 1969, or later in 1969. And we want you to come down and play tomorrow. And I said to my partner, I said, you're not going to believe this, but they want me to come down and play with Elvis tomorrow. And she started laughing, and she said, oh, you're not serious. And I said, yeah, And so, because I didn't like him. I didn't like it. I heard when I was in my high school cafeteria, I heard on the jukebox, and I kept wondering, because I was into jazz and and black music, and we'd hear his music on the jukebox, and I'd think to myself, and how can those idiots like this shit? Excuse me.
No.
and anyhow, so there I am on the phone with him, and so he said the next day, and I had the next day off. I didn't have any sessions booked, So I said, I'm going to go down. I just want to see who he is, I just want to, check him out. So the next day, I went down, and I had on a pair of jeans, faded jeans, and with strings hanging down just like that from the cut, and sandals, bare feet in these sandals, and a T-shirt, and long hair. And at that time, people hadn't, the hippies were wearing long hair, but that's all you saw. And nobody in Elvis's group had long hair. So I walked in dressed like that, and this man across the room got up, and really handsome man, he wasn't dressed rock and roll, He was dressed to really look good. And he walked over, it was Elvis. And he stuck his hand out, and he said, Jerry? And I said, yes. And he said, well, thank you for coming down. We really appreciate it. And I thought, wow, this is a nice guy, Wow, I didn't expect that, So I said, I don't know any of your songs, Elvis. And he said, can you play the blues? can you play the blues? And I said, yeah, I can play the blues. And he said, let's go play some blues. So we went up to the bandstand, and the drummer got up there, and James Burton, the guitar player, and we started playing this stuff, and he started singing, and the hair stood up on my hands. And I thought, there's something happening here that I don't know about, and I think I need to learn about it. And we played a few more songs, and he hired me. Just like that. Said, okay, you know. And so I went home, and I told my ex-partner, I said, you're not going to believe this, but I'm going to work with Elvis. And she said, she almost vomited on the floor. You're kidding me. You know? I said, no, you come down tomorrow and meet him and listen to what's going on. So the next day I took her down there. She met Elvis. We started rehearsing, and she walked out a fan of Elvis Presley. She did, you know. And yeah, she used to come to Las Vegas with me all the time for the first. That's how I met him, and it was a good move on my part because there was a part of music that I didn't really know anything about. You know, it was like going to school for me. You know. And but I worked in the studio, so I picked things up pretty fast, you know. And he was a real nice guy. He wasn't a racist, which was important to me, you know. And he wasn't a racist, and he was really a nice person, you know. And about him trying to sound black, but I thought before, he went to black churches to meet them and to hear the singing and stuff in the churches, and he picked up, and then he used the spiritual part of it as part of his vocal, how he sang, you know. And so that's it. That's it. That's how I met him. And yeah, I was with him for 3 years, and then I quit for 2 years. I was living on a farm. I bought a farm in an island in western Canada, and I was living up there. And he understood. And at the end of 2 years, I decided I was going to move back to Los Angeles. And they called right at that time and said, Elvis wants to know if you want to come back. And I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do, you know. And so I went back to work for him. And I had no rehearsal with him. I hadn't played the music for 2 years. They sent me a tape of what the show was like at that time. But the first time I saw him after 2 years was when we walked on stage together to do the show. And it was like, you know, I hadn't been gone, you know. And I was with him until he died. And that's the story, the whole story. I left out all the bad things. No, I'm just kidding. There wasn't any bad things. Like about 10 years ago, I was living in Scotland, and I started writing a book. I had never written a book before. It took me a long time to learn how to write. And I studied how to write, and I'd read hundreds of books in my life. I read a lot, so I knew what good literature sounded like. So I started this book, and it was about my career in music. You know, there was nothing in it about potty training and granduncles and all this stuff that people put in their biographies. You know, it was about my career. After I left Elvis, a year after I left him, I went on a tour. I worked for a whole year with Bob Dylan, and we traveled on a train all through Europe, and that was fun. And then I went to work with, after that, I went to work with Elvis Costello. Do you know who he was? He was a British punk guy, sort of. He wasn't really punk, but anyhow, I went to work for him, and I went with John Denver, and worked with all these people, and I played on a lot of records along the way, and that's what the book was about. It's called Way Down, and the reason it's called Way Down is because the publishers made me call it Way Down, but there was a song that we recorded with Elvis that was called Way Down, and that's why they wanted me to call it Way Down. So the book's called Way Down, and it's for sale on my website now. Used to be, it was on Amazon and the usual booksellers, but over the years, this publishing was sold, which I didn't know about, but now I sell it. I can buy it, to replenish my supply. And so I sell it on my website. And I also have a lot of photographs and things like that. And so if you want, order it. And we, me and my lady, Valeria, we put it together and ship it. And I personally autograph and dedicate each photo or book.
What advice about bass playing would you give to me or anyone in general?
I have a real different style of playing bass, As you know, this is the way you bend things. And I use a lot of, when I play bass, I use a lot of slides ins and bend the strings once in a while and do stuff like that. And I've never been a good teacher because it's too hard to teach somebody to do that. So I don't recommend anything about playing, But the way to really get your mind working on your own style and your own thing, that when somebody listens to you, they say, oh, that's her, that's so-and-so's playing it on a record. Then the way to get that is to listen to a lot of different kinds of music. African music, there's African, if you like, I can send you some things, email that I think might be helpful to you. There's some African music that's being done in Africa where they use half African instruments and electric bass and like that, modern instruments blended together, and it's wonderful to listen to, not just what the bass does, but what everything. I like Middle Eastern music. I listen to Arab music, and I like the old Arab music, not the stuff with the big orchestras, and not the modern stuff trying to be, commercial. But the old Arab, where they play oud, and they play the dumbegs and like that, and sing, and it's soul music, It's like black music. Some black music is soul music. That's the way these singers sing is soul music, I'm sure there are Armenian singers that sing like that, and it's from the heart, And that's what I would suggest, because it's fun to listen to too, Okay? Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
We have this one.
Oh.
You can edit all the junk out of that, can't you?
This is our signature.
Oh,
bass.
Okay.
So we're gonna ask
PB,
you to put
so.
your signature on it.
Do it a little louder.
Victor Wooten, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Let me bring a Sharpie.
Tony
This
Levin?
is
Yeah.
this is
Oh, yeah, Victor Wooten.
Tony Levin.
2011. Tal Wilkin.
Wow.
Ah,
Wow.
Who's it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's 2011. Who's
Tony Levin's good. I like him.
trying
Who's this?
Trying to read it. Wait, no.
Stu Ham. That's
Stu
Stuart
Ham,
Ham.
yeah.
Do you know of Tal Wilkenfeld?
No.
She's amazing
Yeah.
female. Tal
Love how she
Wilkenfeld.
snuck the star.
Okay.
Ah, I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool
And
signature.
Did you have a chance like to do what we just did with these guys?
Not talk like that, but yes, talk.
Yeah.
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 Me.
That's good.
Me.
Okay.
I mean, Victor Wooten, talking my whole life.
there you are.
You should.
Yeah.
Don't close it yet.
Oh, my pleasure.
Oh my goodness, really? You want me to
what
sign
do you,
it
what,
too?
what, what do
What?
you think?
Here, let me- I gotta go
Wherever
un-
you
under
are.
my dad so that
Oh, you
Yes.
haven't signed that yet.
no.
No, don't write it
No,
there.
that's too small. Like maybe here.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Don't write it there. Kind of looks the same, doesn't it?
Just need to like, do
Similar.
like a line
That's
right there.
amazing.
Yes.
Be like
That's
a line right
amazing.
there.
It's similar. I've got a little more slant going off that way.
Yours is
Yeah,
yours
that's
is
right.
better.